If you already think you have all the personal skills you need at 16, 17, and 18, you're going to be surprised how fucked up you are as an adult. If you want to be successful in business, you have to understand the foundation to being successful is being curious. The stereotype is go, 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 go. Keep up or get off the train. And if people don't want to work with you or for you, that's a problem.
So you're saying stay in college?
Yes, go to school. That's where you learn how to learn. You may have a specific skill, whether it's athletic, whether it's technical, but if you don't know what you don't know, you're going to have a hard time learning it. Whatever it is you were doing, if you're mogging, who's that dude? Clavicle? He's like the king of mogging, okay. And he got out-mogged by some dude from Arizona State. But even if you want to be the ultimate look maxer, you are trying to improve.
Today on the show, I am so excited to be joined by Mark Cuban. Mark is a well-respected investor and media personality. He made his fortune through early tech ventures, most notably selling Broadcast.com to Yahoo for $4.7 billion in 1999. He is also the former principal owner and now minority owner of the NBA's Dallas Mavericks, which he led to their first championship in 2011, and was one of the longest tenured sharks on ABC's hit reality series, Shark Tank. Mark remains one of the most influential voices in business and entrepreneurship online. Welcome, Mark.
Glad to be here.
So before we get into the meat of the interview, we like to start with an icebreaker. So I'd like to hear from you, what has been the hardest part of your journey so far? It can be professional, it could also be personal, but what is the first thing that comes to mind?
I mean, it depends where in my cycle, but being broke was the hard part. When I first got started, I went to Indiana University and got down to Dallas, followed a bunch of friends, and got a job at night working as a bartender and then working during the day. But I had 5 roommates in a 3-bedroom apartment. And, I was still having fun, but when you're broke, it's motivated, but it's not easy. And so I think that was my greatest challenge. But professionally after that, after things started to roll, I think it was learning to read the room, to be nice, because I think growing up as an entrepreneur in my 20s and early 30s, it was like go, 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 go. You have to be that dominant, entrepreneur that sets the tone, expects nothing but the best, doesn't suffer fools. And that held me back. It took somebody, Todd Wagner, one of my friends and partners, who said, "You're a dick."
At what age was that you realized that?
This was in my 30s, mid-30s.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was like, "You're a jerk, right? People are afraid of you. And we don't get as much done because people are afraid of you." And I was like, oh shit, I thought I was nice, right? I got along with everybody. And turns out, my perception was different. And so adapting there and learning to be nice and kind to people made life a lot easier for me. But that was probably my biggest professional challenge.
What made you get kinder? Was it just the realization? Is it something that you've had to foster? I mean, you come across as a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, I was nice.
What changed?
But like when you're in business and you're starting to get going, right? It's new to you. And all you know are the stereotypes that you've heard about and read about and seen. And, the stereotype was and is like, go, 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 go. Keep up or get off the train, right? And if you can't hang, you're a soy boy or you're this or you're that, right? And it took a bit for me to adjust because I had to catch myself. But once I did, life was easier because people were nicer to me, which allowed me to get more done more quickly. And it turned out well.
Yeah, that stuff compounds too. Like once you build a slightly better reputation, then everyone kind of knows it.
Yeah, and if people don't want to work with you or for you, that's a problem. You lose good talent, and it didn't hurt us a lot, but it slowed us down. Yeah. Because somebody had, somebody that I would communicate with would then go to somebody else and they would say, "Oh, don't worry about Mark. He just goes full speed all the time." Or I'd send an email at 2 a.m. and wonder why somebody didn't get back to me. Just dumb shit like that. That to me, I had no work-life balance and I didn't expect anybody else to have it either.
So this is one thing I'm seeing a lot. I'm an investor, so I meet a lot of young founders, and those are a lot of who are getting funded these days. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of the 18-year-old dropout from Stanford that's super technical that now needs to manage a team of 100 people.
Yeah, I hate that shit.
And my question for you is how do we teach them to be good leaders? Because I think that...
Tell them to go to college and stay in school.
Okay, yeah. Tell me your take on that. Because venture's obsessed. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I got a cold email from someone that was a 14-year-old wanting to raise venture capital.
I've had
and
that
I literally
too.
was like, please stay in school.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the same conversations. My mom wants me to go to school, whatever it may be. And I'm like, yes, go to school. That's where you learn how to learn. You may have a specific skill, whether it's athletic, whether it's technical, whatever it may be. But if you don't know what you don't know, you're going to have a hard time learning it. And if you don't know how to learn, if you're, being successful, the foundation of being successful is being curious. And not just being curious, but being able to be a sponge and assimilate as much as possible. And college forces you to connect to people you otherwise would not connect to, right? If you're just in Silicon Valley and all you're doing is talking to tech people and you're walking around like a little tech zombie, talking about your Cloudbot agents, and that's the only context you have, right? Then you're gonna lose out. You're not gonna know how to grow a company. You're gonna make mistakes that will cost you your company, or somebody's gonna take advantage of you and acqui-hire you, and everything you dreamed of won't happen.
One thing I've learned talking to GPs on the show, and in my own experience as a GP, your back office is a signal. How fast you close deals, how clean the LP experience is, how your K1s land, investors notice all of it. The more buttoned up you are, the more likely they are to give you more money in the future. That's why I want to talk about Sidecar. Sidecar is the SPV platform built for fund managers who want institutional quality execution without hiring a full back office team. They'll review your deal within hours, handle full secondary transaction support, and give you transparent pricing up front. No platform carry. Also, your LP relationships stay private, which is super important. It is not a marketplace. If you're running a professional fund, your infrastructure should look like it. Sidecar makes that possible without the overhead. Check them out at sidecar.io/partner/trailblazers. So I know you like sticky problems. We'll get into all the healthcare stuff in a bit, but education is like the stickiest of problems. Right. So you're saying stay in college, get an education, but costs of tuition are only going up.
Go to a place you could afford.
Yeah, so what's your take on that? Like, is college still worth it? Do we need to rethink education entirely? Give me your take there.
Do I think you need to go to an Ivy League school? No, but if you do, most of them pay for your tuition if you otherwise can't afford it, right? Should you go to a school you can afford? Yes. If you can't afford school yet, should you go to a community college to learn the basics? Yes, because that grounds you and it connects you, and it still challenges you. And if you're able to breeze through it because you're smart, then you breeze through it. You take your credits, but at least you've learned to set a schedule and stick to it. And you've learned, different things you otherwise might not have connected to. And then, you can transfer and still go to a school you can afford. But here's the cool thing, and I think that's changing education. One, because so many people are concerned about AI and trying to get apprenticeships and more physical jobs. College people going to college. The number of people going to college is declining, particularly among men. And so I think you're seeing tuition start to scrape down, which is good. You're seeing scholarship and support money start to increase, which is good. And then the third part of that is AI. Because you can complement. I love, people get afraid of AI for education. I love it, right? Yeah. Because, I had to talk to, in Pittsburgh where I grew up, I went back and talked to a bunch of educators, I think in November. And, they were teachers and they were all terrified, like it's going to take their jobs. I'm like, you don't understand. AI allows you to personalize the education you're offering to each individual student. You don't need to spend all your time grading papers, the first pass, second pass, whatever. AI will do all of that for you. And based off the progress that child is making, it'll tailor what that student needs. And because of that, you can focus on things that just create the light in the kid's eye. And then I said to them, isn't that why you're here? Right? Isn't that what you want to do? Just see that sparkle in a kid's eye, whatever it may be. It may be art. It may be who knows what. It may be learning Polish because their grandmother's Polish, but that's the beauty of it. And so wherever you go, whatever you do, you have the world's best libraries, teachers, and professors available at your fingertips if you just ask. And so, while you can build emotional skills and you can build relationship skills and other things, you're never going to be at a loss from the actual academic side. And so I think now there's no better time now to want to go to college than now, because if you just don't think that let me rephrase that. If you already think you have all the personal skills you need at 16, 17, and 18, you're going to be surprised how fucked up you are as an adult.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to look back and wonder why you're in your basement, writing Cloudbots and agents and making some money, but afraid to walk outside.
Yeah, but when you're that age, you don't know better. It's like you think you know everything.
Yeah, I have a 16-year-old son, and trust me, he does know everything.
And you think he's like, I can't possibly grow up beyond this.
Right.
I don't know if you have a take on this, but one of the reasons why I think a lot of educators are scared of AI and it's not taking hold is actually there's not a lot of products being funded. So like in general, venture capitalists have always been scared of ed tech, and they haven't funded it for like an extremely long time. Do you see that changing?
No,
what are the tools? Good. Okay, tell me more. Tell me.
So all the foundational large language models, the AIs, right? They know that if they get students, the younger the better, using them, that becomes, a brand that they become attached to. Mm-hmm. Like there's discussions now, Claude versus, ChatGPT versus Gemini, and they're all battling for your attention. It's like Coke versus Pepsi in a lot of respects. Mm-hmm. And so when it's basically free for schools, what ed tech do you need? You just need to do it. I mean, how did you teach yourself about AI? You just dove in and experimented, right? And tried things. And it's not like the AI gets mad at you. It's not, maybe it talks some dumb shit, like, depending on how you set up.
It's pretty gentle though, all things considered.
Well, that's a great idea, right?
Yeah.
But because of that, if teachers are just willing to put a little bit of time, it'll save them a ton of time. It'll allow them to be more flexible. So, okay, I'll give you, talking about technology and education.
Yeah.
So I went and last year, I forget when, went to Denver and got invited to talk to a bunch of governors that were in there, and they wanted to talk about AI.
Whoa.
And I don't ever profess to be the AI guru, right? Because I'm not writing, I'm not going to write a foundational model or any of that stuff. But at the same time, then at the last second, they threw at me, well, how would you use it for education? I'm like, I don't know shit about this. So I'm waiting in the green room and I'm asking ChatGPT to list me the top 10 things that, AI could do for education from K to 12.
Yeah.
And this shit was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. I was like, oh my goodness, right? And the point being that you can, if you're willing to take the time, and teachers spend so much time trying to learn how to be better teachers. All the, what approach should I be taking now? What's the latest approach to teaching math, reading, and arithmetic, whatever it may be, preparing kids for the standardized test, whatever they have to do. And so it's not a stretch for them to try to experiment and learn these things. I don't think you need big, complicated AI because, driven by edge tech investments, because, that, I think that just takes it down the wrong direction. It's no longer organic. And more importantly, anything you create in ed tech is going to be a feature, not a product at some point in time. Mm-hmm.
Hence why a lot of people don't invest in it, because a lot of that's been the past so far.
And that's happening in everything. Software now, where software was margin, sell a whole lot of them, price per seat. Now you see what's happening to the software firms, public software companies, and so
outcome-based pricing now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, or not even
or usage-based
or token-based.
Token-based,
right?
Of course.
Tokens becoming kind of like the currency of the realm, right?
Wild.
And so instead of price per seat or X number of dollars per year, it's how many tokens do you use, and then what agent can you develop to arbitrage all the different tokens. So all these things are changing, and where there's change, there's so much opportunity. And when an ed tech investor puts money in there, that's the hammer and everything's a nail. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's more opportunity to encourage teachers, professionals, whatever they may be, whatever your profession is, to just dive in and learn and figure it out. Because, I'm a big believer there's two types of people when it comes to AI. Those who use AI so they don't have to learn anything, and those who use AI so they can possibly learn everything.
That was your viral tweet like a week ago.
Right, yeah.
I saw it.
I got to
I
get it in
saw
there,
it.
right?
You got to sneak it. I think someone summarized, they said the learners versus the lazy.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily lazy, because we all try to take the path of least resistance, right?
We all want the magic pill. We don't want to do the hard work.
Yeah, I mean, because we only have so many hours in the day. This is our life, and we're trying to do the things we want to do to make ourselves happy, right? But the whole idea that, AI is only going to make you lazier and think worse, I think that's just a reflection of the person. How do you encourage somebody to be curious? You can rephrase the whole thing. There's those who are curious and those who don't give a shit.
Do you think you can move from one bucket to the other?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that, because I think there's some people, like, this is so random, but when I was born, my mom, someone asked her what was an adjective to describe me, and she said she was alert. And I thought that was the funniest thing. Like, what a weird adjective to describe me as alert for a baby.
Newborn
Like,
baby.
my eyes were like
Are you
open. Still so alert. I'm extremely alert. I'm as curious as they get. I mean, even more than curious. I'm like alert. I'm on edge. And I've always been that way. And so I think it's hard for me to gauge people going from, a state of not being alert to being really alert and curious and wanting to learn. What's your take there on, like, can we port them over and how do we port them over?
It's maturity.
Okay.
You get to different points in your life. One day you're the homecoming queen and king or football star or cheerleader. And the next day you realize once you get out of high school,
no one cares.
No one cares.
Yeah.
Right. And so what do you do? What direction can you take? And if you're willing to learn and try things, but, I just saw somebody talking about women athletes make great CEOs because they're driven and they understand how to set a schedule and they're always trying to find ways to improve. And that's so analogous to what happens in life and business, and that AI enables even further. If you have whatever it is what you were doing, it could be you're trying to increase your bench press, you're trying to do whatever, right? You're mogging, all, who was that dude? Clavicle, whatever dude's name was?
Who's this? Is it a sports thing?
No.
Okay.
This is a social media thing.
Okay.
Clavicular, I forget, clavicle, but he's like the king of mogging.
Okay.
And he got out-mogged by some dude from Arizona State.
Okay.
And it was this big. But even if you want to be, look max, right? And be the ultimate look maxer, you are trying to improve.
You're like so Gen Z. You really got this laying down right now.
I just,
You
I
pay
gotta
attention. Yeah. You have young kids, that's why.
The best way to know what your kids are doing is to look at their Instagram and TikTok feeds.
Yeah.
But they're like, get the hell away, Dad.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's scary to them.
Yeah.
But in any event, whatever it is that you're trying to improve at, that's the path. And once you get to that level of, I don't want to say maturity, but self-awareness, that's a better way to do it. Once you get this level of self-awareness to say, there's a path I can take that I can learn to be smarter or better at something. Because people always ask me, like, when do I know to start a company or what should I do on that path, right? And I always say, find something you love to do and then put in the effort to be great at it. Because nobody quits anything they're great at. And once you're motivated and fired up and you're making improvements, you're motivated, fired up, and making improvements, right? Time flies. You go down those rabbit holes. I mean, I'm sure it happens to you every day, right?
Yeah.
You just go down, you start learning something. Oh, that's interesting. And what about this? What about this? And you start asking questions and it takes you into 20 different things. And the next thing you know, you're having a conversation or looking at an investment. And it relates, right? And it makes you smarter about what you're doing. And that's the beauty of all this. And that's why you can learn to be curious. You can learn to, improve at pretty much anything. And if you suck at it, you take a step back and you find something else. But I think anybody is capable of it. And it's always the first step towards starting a business. Because there's nobody in my mind that's ever succeeded in business unless they got really lucky by not being curious.
Totally. Well, one thing we are not talking about, which is a factor of business, is loneliness and connection. And I think some people can be really excited about an idea and really excited about their business. But if they're building alone in a basement, they can get really lonely and it's hard. So what's your advice for someone who maybe is very curious, but they have a remote job, 5 days a week, they're working really hard, they want to start something, but they're kind of feeling down in the dumps and depressed because they're just talking to their agents all day and they're working siloed, but they don't have human connection because that's important.
When I first started my first company, Micro Solutions, and I was teaching myself to code.
Yeah.
I remember starting a project, and I would do custom applications for people. Starting a project and looking up, thinking I'd been doing it for 2 or 3 hours, and it was 24 hours later.
Yeah.
And you start concentrating so hard and time flies. So I get being stuck in the basement. Yeah. Right. But the first step, join a gym, join a club, do whatever. I don't care if it's a walking club. If you find yourself, 5'8" and 300 pounds and you've got to do something to deal with your health and deal with, you're just creating relationships. If you can find the energy and the internal fortitude to take a chance and start whatever business it is you're doing in your basement, you got to use that same will and fortitude to get out of the fucking house. And even if you're just walking around the neighborhood saying hi to people, you'll be shocked. If you just go out where their people are, even though you're self-conscious. Look, when we leave, I'll show you a picture of me at 16.
Okay.
All right. So playing sports, I got hit in the face by a bike. and I was running for ball, da-da-da. And my parents didn't make much money. And so I had to get caps on these 2 teeth.
Okay.
All they could afford were stainless steel caps.
As in stainless steel colored caps. Like you had silver teeth in the front.
I had, silver teeth, 16 years old.
That's brutal. Yeah.
16 years old. Every time I would smile, someone would go, ah, right?
Yeah, literally, especially here with these lights.
Right? They'd be like,
blinding me.
Come on.
Yeah.
I weighed more then than I do now, and was about 5-6 inches shorter. And so it wasn't like I was in demand. But I tried sports. I got a group of friends and hung out with them. They're still my friends. And so you've got to go out there and put that same energy into, creating a social path for yourself. Because, you can go through Reddit, you can go through every platform that you ever wanted to try to understand what's happening in the world. But particularly now in an AI world, right? Because in an AI world where it's so easy to connect to anything, then people are going to react to that and want to have IRL, real world experiences. And if you want to be successful in business, you have to understand where people are willing to connect to AI and where they need real world experiences and real life communications and connections. And one without the other, you're going to fail.
Absolutely. And so much of it, I think we don't talk about this enough, but so much of the stuff we see online is actually fake.
Oh, of course.
So it's created for rage bait. I had a very interesting discussion with someone at a dinner who's like a deep fake researcher. And we were all saying hot takes, and she said, I think, my hot take is that we'll never be able to know the difference. That like so many of these models are being trained on
so good, right?
Yeah, on also like fake images and fake videos and that we're going to get to the point where it's just all slop.
Oh, some of the shit I see, that's me.
Yeah, and you're like, that's really not me.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's like, is that me?
Oh, yeah, you don't know.
You don't know, right?
Yeah. We could quote you saying something you never even said. No one would know.
Multiple times, and so
it's crazy.
It's going to be difficult, but that said, I think the LLMs, the large language models, the AI, won't deal with the deep fakes, but they'll deal with misinformation better than anything we've gotten. I think there's a lot of people out there that are trying to come up with algorithms that you can put in front of something that you look at and it'll tell you if it's misinformation or not. Nah, that's going out of business. What'll work is large language models. It's not in their interest to go down conspiracy theory rabbit holes without saying it's a conspiracy theory. Because if is a vaccine good? Should I get the MMR vaccine for my children? I'm a new mom, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's going to say yes. It's going to say there's some people who think otherwise, but here's the science.
Yeah.
Because it can't not do that. Otherwise, it loses all of its presence. It loses its independence. And so I think all these foundational models are going to reduce the misinformation that we find out there. So there's not, now you're starting to see in, online magazines and even, paper newspapers where there's links to, AI, large language models that will allow you to summarize what's already there. And, it'll tell you the difference between an op-ed or a columnist and a reporter and the facts. Now, it's not going to always get it right, but for things that have science behind them, it probably will.
If you're building in public, sharing insights, or staying top of mind with your network, you need a newsletter. And if you have a newsletter, you need Beehive. You know how I always talk about writing essays that change the trajectory of my VC firm? Well, I publish all of them through Beehive. It's my absolute favorite platform because it serves as a blog, a newsletter, and a website all in one, so I don't have to republish or reformat across platforms. Beehive is the creator platform where newsletters actually grow. We're talking built-in referral programs, a recommendation network, and analytics that tell you what's working, not just vanity metrics. Plus, you can monetize from day one through their ad network, paid subscriptions, or boosts. No platform cut eating into your revenue as well. I can speak from my personal experience. I'm always getting pinged for new ad opportunities. Beehive has a range of customers from major publishers like Time Magazine, TechCrunch, and Newsweek to solo operators earning 7 figures from their inbox. It's the same platform that's built to scale with you. If you've been putting off starting your newsletter or outgrowing whatever you're on, now is the time. Go to beehive.com and use code Trailblazers30 for 30% off your first 3 months. So I have a confession. I used to be a compulsive note taker. Every single meeting, I'd be half listening and half scribbling and still leaving with gaps on next steps, details that were shared, and more. But granola completely changed that for me. It's an AI-powered notepad for meetings, and it's connected to every single call on my calendar. Before each call, it shows me a well-researched brief, so I know who I'm meeting with and the full context going in. During the call, I jot down whatever stands out, maybe it's a key word or a decision I make, and Granola handles the rest. It'll transcribe in the background on the call and then turns my rough notes into clean, structured takeaways the second we hang up. There's also no bots joining calls. It just works in the background. I use Granola for several things. If I finish a meeting with a potential investor in my fund, I'll ask Granola, what could I have done better to get my point across? If I'm meeting with a founder I like, I'll ask Granola to point out any major green flags or maybe red flags I may not have already caught. For people with a lot of meetings and decisions that require endless context, Granola is a game changer. Actually, we're running Granola on today's episode, so you can read the full show notes at granola.ai/trailblazers. New users get 3 months completely free. That's granola.ai/trailblazers. Yeah, well, that's where I think also having like a community notes on Twitter or having some of these like gut check places and all these social media platforms is so essential.
Right.
It's like a mini version of that. It's like, because I mean, I'll even say for myself, there was like, sometimes there's like a pop culture thing that's like, you know, Katy Perry is pregnant with twins and it goes viral. And then you're like, wait, she isn't actually pregnant with twins.
For sure.
So that's where like a TMZ comes in or like a community notes comes in. And I think that's why
there's always
trust is
a
everything.
latency to the model.
There is.
Right.
It takes a bit. It takes like an hour and then it's already gone viral.
Yeah. And then
So you have to
it's
catch
gone.
it.
But at some point, if you really, you know, for pop culture stuff, you know, what's the cost?
Who cares?
Yeah. Right.
Vaccine's a little more important.
Yeah. The things that really, really matter, even though there's a latency, you know, the biggest challenge is going to be whether or not people who own intellectual property silo it so that what they create is not trained on their stuff and they can get paid for it. That's going to be the biggest challenge, particularly for healthcare type stuff. So we'll see what happens there.
I mean, there was that whole thing with Scarlett Johansson being the voice of the OpenAI ChatGPT. I don't know if you saw that, but crazy. You know, sometimes like these celebrities don't even need to opt in because so much of their voice is online. You can do a lot of fake stuff without their consent. Oh my God,
the stuff like people using all the stuff I've said on Shark Tank and taking the videos. I mean, it's hysterical, but it's also like, okay.
A lot of people believe it.
Yeah, this is, trust me, I know. Like, I was, oh my God, I'm not even going to go there. Where people have put me, it's crazy.
What's the craziest? You got to give us one.
Porn.
Oh, porn.
Oh, I'm a stud.
Have you watched yourself in fake porn?
No.
Because Mark, that's crazy.
No, I will not do that.
Okay, you just see the screenshot of it.
No, I had somebody show it. No, I had somebody show me the start of it. Right.
Because I was going to say, Mark, the internet's about to rip you for that.
No, I'm like, there's no way that's real, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then someone sent it to me, and I'm like, oh fuck, and deleted it and sent the note to the platform and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's where lawyers are helpful because you can send a little thing to.
The lawyers don't like those types of places. Don't even care about lawyers. They just close down and show up as somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like I actually worked with the FTC, Lena Khan from the last administration, who I love, and there's a whole thing where people were using all the images from Shark Tank and other celebrities as well, and me independently to sell these diet pills, you know, and what I was going to bring up, the crazy part is whenever the government would go and look at the website that was selling these pills, it would never be there. And I was like, no, here it is. And what these people, they're so smart at what they're doing, they would read for the source domain. And if it had a .gov, they would change it to a website that was all flowers and pretty shit and stuff like that. Yeah, it's crazy.
So smart.
So smart.
You got to respect the hustle.
You got to respect the scammers and the hustle, right?
I do. I hate to say it, but sometimes I'm like, it's so smart they deserve to win.
I don't want to say they deserve to win, but I give them credit for being smart.
I give them credit.
Yeah, for sure.
Lena Khan, whether or not you agree with her politics, she's so brilliant. She's so brilliant. She's been spending, you probably know this, but she's been spending a lot of time in like the tech world, and she's always at every conference I go to now.
Oh, she is? That's very cool.
Yeah, she's doing a lot of these like tech and policy panels, you know. She has a little more free time now.
Yeah.
And she's so brilliant.
No, I love her. You know, we disagree on whether the big AI companies should be broken up.
Yes, I think you and a lot of other capitalists disagree, but you know.
Well, I'm a compassionate capitalist.
Okay. That's what you call it.
Are you a capitalist?
I'm a hardcore. I like compassionate capitalist, but I think I'm more capitalist than compassionate. I like making money. I like winning.
You're in a different place right now.
Yeah. That's why sometimes when she says things, I'm just like, do you know who you're speaking to? This is a room of business people.
Right, and that's okay. You know,
that's okay.
Yeah, for her to stand up and say that.
Yeah. But I respect it.
Yeah, but I helped her with pharmacy stuff. We're helping to, you know, when she was there to break that up. And that stuff I was telling you about with the diet pills, I worked with her to try to uncover it. We worked her and Google, and to a certain extent Facebook, to try to shut them down.
Good.
And they didn't get them all, but they got a chunk of them.
Yeah, I could see her being on it. That's a good one for her. Speaking of drug pills, cost plus drugs.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's discuss. So obviously you made a big splash a few years ago when you started this. I want to ask you, like, how is it going today?
Killing it.
Give me the update. What's going on right now?
We launched January 19th of 2022 with 111 medications and no clue whether or not we'd get any customers. And now we've helped millions of people. We're at thousands of medications, and we're literally changing healthcare as we speak. We've expanded so that we're manufacturing these drugs called sterile injectables that hospitals use. We've created something called costpluswellness.com.
Tell me about that too, yeah.
And so what that is insurance companies suck, right? Particularly the biggest insurance companies. And there are companies that do what's called self-insuring, where they pay for all the healthcare bills rather than getting them insured directly. And with Cost Plus Wellness, we let them do a direct contract. The company does a direct contract with the hospitals. And by doing that directly and cutting out the insurance companies on those transactions, it saves a boatload of money. And so that's brand new. We just soft launched it in December, I think, and it's just starting to take off now.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like literally,
you're tackling the market from so many different angles too. You're like, insurance companies, okay, no, self-insurers, okay, and just keep going.
Just want to fuck up the whole thing. Nobody looks at their healthcare and says the economic side, that's perfect. I love the way the system is set up. Everybody looks at the exact opposite way. And now we have all these big insurance companies that are trying to copy us and telling people, oh wait, we do the same thing, and they don't. They're not transparent. They we're still the only pharmacy that lists all of its the price of all of its medications. So, short story, if you go to costplusdrugs.com and you put in the name of your medication or your grandma's or mom's medications, right? If we carry it, it'll come up and we'll show you our actual cost. And not only will show you our cost, we'll show you our markup, our margin, which is always 15%. And it's mail order, so it's $5 to ship it. And by doing that and limiting the margins, and as our volumes go up, our costs go down, and passing that through, we've been able to save people. I mean, literally, people will walk up to me on the street and hug me or start crying or send emails. My dad has cancer, and he didn't want to saddle us with the credit card debt when he died, and however long that would be. So he decided not to take his medications anymore. But then we went to costplusdrugs.com, and instead of being $903 that we can't afford, it was $43, which we could afford.
Life-changing.
Just all the time. And it's wrong that, we're able to do this, because we should never be in this position in the first place. But, these big insurance companies are so big, they're too big to care. And so, their margin is my opportunity, to quote Jeff Bezos.
Totally. There's so many problems. I mean, I think it's not even just with like cost plus drugs. It's these like PE firms that are coming in and gobbling up healthcare and trying to just suck them for what they're worth and make a profit. Like, there have to be some industries that we just protect, that we just say, like, life-saving cancer drugs, that's got to be in the let's do 15%
well,
margin.
Lena Khan, if you're listening, I think we should break up the big insurance companies.
Okay, Lena. Well, I'll send this to her.
Right,
yeah,
and then they should divest all non-insurance assets, because like the biggest insurance company has 2,600 subsidiaries. They do $160 billion in intercompany transfers. They get to game the whole system. They're too big to care.
Definition of a monopoly. Yeah, it's huge.
It's huge.
It's horrifying. I think it's amazing. The one thing I wanted to ask you too, so you put Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drugs on it, and you've co-founded, invested in so many companies. To my knowledge, this is the only one that you put Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Talk to me about that.
Because every time a rich guy comes into healthcare, they always fail. And
why is that?
Because they try to work inside the system. So literally, J.P. Morgan, Warren Buffett, and Amazon got together, created a company, I think it was called Haven, about 5 years ago, where they said they were going to change healthcare. Within 3 years, they were dust. And here we are.
Similar concept, or what was the concept?
The goal was the same.
Yeah.
The approach was completely different.
Yeah.
In their particular case, they thought by creating the scale, sorry about that, they thought by creating scale, they can get better pricing. They can, by using their own employees and their customer base, they can get people to... But they worked inside the system. And I don't work with the big PBMs. I don't work with the big insurance companies. We work to try to diminish them, right, and disintermediate them. And so I wanted people to understand that I was serious about this because it was my very first company I ever put my name on. And then I was fully committed to doing this, that, when it's all said and done on my tombstone in 50 years, if they say he fucked up healthcare and he had a good time, I'll be smiling.
I love it. Well, I also think the 15% margin thing is very tricky to accomplish. And so people know that you have a lot of money. So putting your name behind it too makes it more legit. I think that's a big part of it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's a big part of it.
Like one thing that I heard in a podcast, the guy said, trust equals transparency divided by self-interest. And it applies to every business for anything, but particularly to healthcare. And by being completely transparent with our cost and margin, okay, that's the transparency, high numerator. And by only having a 15% margin, okay, it's not a ton of self-interest because nobody knows what anybody else charges, but they know that their prices are higher than ours. So it must be more because we're not big. People buy cheaper than us, in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, and they must be marking it up a whole lot more. So, that's really what we sell is trust.
The 2026 primaries are taking shape, and if you have a strong opinion about how they're going to go, Kalshi lets you actually trade on it. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the U.S., federally regulated and available in all 50 states. You're not betting against a house. You're trading against other people in a live market, taking yes or no positions on real-world events. Elections, federal interest rates, economic data, you name it. Right now on Kalshi, you can trade on the California governor race, Senate outcomes, and a dozen other major political storylines as they develop. As the probability shifts, you can buy in or out of your position in real time. It's a completely new asset class, and honestly, one of the more interesting ways to have skin in the game on what you're already watching closely. Download the Kalshi app, that's Kalshi, and use code Trailblazers to get $10 when you trade $10. Or go to kalshi.com/r/trailblazers to accept this $20 offer. With Kalshi, you can trade on anything. 18 plus only, restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Okay, so a quick experiment. Think about the last long message you typed. Could be a Slack thread, a prompt into Claude, maybe it's a detailed email. It probably took you 10 minutes, maybe even 20 to get it right. Now imagine you just said it out loud instead. That is the whole pitch for WhisperFlow. WhisperFlow is voice to text that actually works in every app on every device. You speak naturally and it outputs clean, formatted text that's ready to send. No setup, no integrations, no fixing weird transcription errors. And it works across Gmail, Slack, Notion, Claude, iMessage, wherever you type. And unlike the built-in dictation on your phone, WhisperFlow removes all filler words, mid-sentence corrections, and jargon. What I personally love about it too is that it perfectly matches my style. So I often type in all lowercase letters, so it'll type like that. I also say things like LMK, which means let me know in shorthand, and it'll auto-adjust it from let me know to LMK. Like many of you, I also do a lot of brain dumping into LLMs. So instead of typing it all out, I actually just speak my windy train of thought into WhisperFlow, which is infinitely faster than trying to get my fingers to keep up with the pace of my thoughts. If you do any serious writing or just send a lot of messages and emails, using WhisperFlow is a no-brainer. Get 1 whole month of WhisperFlow Pro completely free at ref.whisperflow.ai/trailblazers.
I want to jump topics for a sec, and because you mentioned capitalism and compassionate capitalism, and I just selfishly wanted to get your take on something. So you've talked about politics a bit throughout your career. I know that you had supported Kamala Harris. I know you had mentioned a presidential run at some point, but you're obviously known for being an entrepreneur and being a capitalist. Okay, so that's the layup. Here's my question. A lot of Gen Z thinks that the way to solve the world's problems is through politics and through policy. And they're very, very engaged and excited about politics, and it's like cool to be into politics and work for politics. But business is actually the route that you've chosen to create a lot of change, cost plus drugs being one of them. What's your take on how we can get more Gen Z to think about business and capitalism as a good thing, not a bad thing?
Because politics takes too long. The goals can be the same. I'm not against universal health care or single payer. The question is, how do you get there? And when you actually, as a business person or an entrepreneur, when you start exploring and understanding how different countries got there, you can look at Canada. Canada started changing their healthcare system through one province in 1947, and they realized they could afford to buy and pay for the healthcare of everybody in that province. And then it moved on to others. And the point being that, you can want single payer or universal health care, but what are you going to tell Mayo Clinic about all these fancy pieces of equipment that they have that the Medicare system, based off of what they're paying, can't afford? Are you going to just tell them close up? Are you going to tell them stop using that equipment and let those people die or stay sick? How are you going to approach it? Are you going to tell people, just work for less, take on that $300,000 in debt, Mr. or Ms. Doctor, but you're going to get paid a lot? You can't do that. And more importantly, you're not going to accomplish your goal. And so whatever you're passionate about, good. And wanting to go into politics, good. Where both parties fail, and I'm an independent, right? Where both parties fail is they don't try to go for action items. They feel like they have to be in power. They have to have, all branches of government in order to implement their plans. That's bullshit, right? There's nothing that says you as a politician can't work with local businesses. You need more healthcare. I'm going to sit down with the local federally qualified healthcare center, and we're going to put together a program because we think, I've learned all about 340B pricing, yada, 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 whatever it is, and I can design a program with you because I've gone down that rabbit hole. I've learned things that you don't know yet. I might be 18 years old. I might be 21 years old. That shit doesn't matter. It's, do you learn and have you invested the time? If it's only where the Democrats always fuck things up, right? And I just said this to somebody today.
Yeah.
Democrats look at something, particularly in this era right now where Donald Trump does something wrong that they don't like, let's say, and they extrapolate it so that the end game is the worst possible ending that you can ever possibly imagine, and they get all worked up over that, as opposed to saying, okay, I don't like this, here's a better alternative.
Yeah.
I don't like what the Republicans are doing for healthcare, here's a better alternative. I don't like the way people are being treated. Here's a better alternative. I don't like education or daycare. Daycare is too expensive. Here's a better alternative. Because if you don't provide an alternative, now it's going to take how long? And then you're going to get one shot where it's like, okay, we're going to allocate this money and we're going to come up with a plan. And it better work because this is a law now, and that law is not going to change for who knows how many years. In business, you can zig and zag. You can iterate 1,000 times. In politics, you can't. When you get that law passed, that was like when I read that book, Abundance, right? I didn't get the same takeaway that everybody else did talking about abundance. Like what I saw was the high-speed rail and the laws they passed around it in the 60s or whatever it was, didn't change. And now they were all outdated, yet that was the law that you had to adhere to. And when you're only in the political side and you're able to get something passed, how long is it viable, particularly in an AI world?
When so much is changing so fast.
So much is changing so fast.
Yeah.
Go out there and, okay, so you're pissed off that people have to apply for jobs for Medicaid now and 1 million people are going to get kicked off of Medicaid. Create a fucking agent that does it for them.
Yeah. But see, I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, is I view capitalism as a very action-oriented view, and I view like populism as a very verbal language, just talking-oriented view.
In a lot of respects, yeah.
In a lot of respects. And so I think it's just getting people to get excited for the solution, get excited to build the agent, and I think that's something that we miss a lot in society.
100%. Just solve
it. Yeah.
Solve it. If you want to make money at it, great.
And you can funnel it back into helping more people.
Whatever you want to do, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want to make money of it, it's just your passion and you want to do the right thing. This is your service.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever it is that makes you happy and motivates you to get it done, go for it. You know, but the one thing you can't expect is just to wait for government to fund it, because whatever law you get passed in an AI world is already outdated.
Yeah, it's like the law. It's like, technology is always way ahead. It's like if you're building a business, you're going to break some law. You're gonna bypass some policy. It's like
for sure.
You're gonna be outpacing it. There's no way to catch up.
And that's the beauty of it, because where there's change, there's opportunity, and where there's rapid change, there's incredible opportunity, because most people don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to dig in and say, okay, now we're at 4.6, or 4.62. I got to recompare what's going on. Now Claude locked us out of the OAuth access, right? So now it's a lot more expensive. So now I got to go to the API. How am I going to do all this? But all those things create opportunity. Like if I was coming
But it's also barriers. So it's like people don't want to put themselves in that position where they have to like navigate and figure it out and be told no.
What do you think politics is?
That's true. That is also a lot of barriers.
That's all
red
politics
tape.
is.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
that's a good point.
It's all people talking bullshit.
Yeah.
Like we're in New York and Mandami. Mandami is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He's
They
just,
really are. I know. I feel the same way. They're just like this.
There's Taco and there's Mako.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. I wanted to ask you, so I heard you say this on TBPN, that if you were, which is, like a tech show we all love.
Obviously, I did the show, right? So
yeah, I know. You know it. And if you were, and I think they asked you, like if you were a 20-year-old or your advice for a 20-something, what would you do? And you said actually something that I thought was interesting. You talked about how you'd almost start like an AI, coaching business for SMBs and build workflows for them, which is more of like an agency consulting model. Whereas a lot of young founders now are going the like build a product, raise venture, blitz scale, bull market. So between those two, if you're a 20-year-old, what are you picking? Are you picking the like making $100,000 a month with this consulting model going to SMBs, or are you picking the like raise venture, take a big swing at fixing?
Oh, hell no. I'm taking the money. I'm taking the $100,000 a month.
Okay.
And using that and just learning everything I could. So when the opportunity comes along, I can afford to do it myself. I'm a billionaire because I didn't give up a big chunk of my company. When we sold, I still owned a third of it. If you're raising a ton of money, just remember, raising money is not an accomplishment, it's an obligation.
And it's dilution.
Huge dilution, right?
Huge.
Particularly if you get caught in that trap of, okay, I did my seed, I did my angel, I did my seed, now I do my Series A, then I'm going to go to a Series B, and you think that's the accomplishment? You've already failed. Like I've seen huge multi-billion-dollar exits where the original founder, it's not nothing to make 10, 20, $30 million, but out of a multi-billion-dollar exit to make $30 million?
Yeah, it's wild.
Brutal. So that means you're working forever for somebody else.
Totally. And why put in those extra 5 years? There was an interesting study, actually, my friend, I don't know if you know Bryce Roberts at NDVC. He's amazing. And he put out a study that said, on average, founders make the same amount when they're venture backed if they have an exit at seed versus Series D. And everyone's like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Their company's worth so much
100%,
more.
That's a
no,
great
they've
point.
been so diluted. It's truly the same take-home pay.
People don't understand that. They
Yeah.
don't understand how it works. They just so entrepreneurs, even if you don't raise money, we fall into the same trap. One, we all lie to ourselves. We're better, cheaper, faster, whatever it may be. And that arrogance is a little bit good because it keeps you motivated. But then the other thing that we do, we get excited about revenue. Not profits, revenue.
Yep.
Oh, I got to $1 million. Like I felt the same way. When I was 24, I was on the Inc. 500. I got up to like number 29. And we were profitable, but not as profitable as our top line number made it seem, And that's where people fall prey a lot. It happens a lot on Shark Tank. Well, I got up to $1 million or $5 million in sales. How great is that? Are you profitable? No. And, how much money do you have in the bank? $30,000. What's your burn? $60,000 a month. So you're out of business, but you got $5 million in sales. So you bought sales.
Yeah. You
just can't do that. And so you've got to understand what really is important to stay in business. If you're profitable, even if out of that $100,000 in revenue, it's $5,000 a month and you're barely hanging on, but that's your baby, right? You own all of it. You make all the decisions. How many times have you seen a company where they got money from somebody and that somebody wanted, some liquidity and started telling them you have to do A, B, or C so we can try to move out of this, or or I'm not going to give you more money. And then the entrepreneur says, well, you told me to chase sales and now you're telling me there's no more money and now I'm going out of business because of you. Always, whenever you can control your own destiny, even if it's slower, even if it seems like you're plotting, even if, particularly if you're in the Valley or here in New York where everybody seems to be going faster, and it's going to get 1,000 times worse in an AI world because everything is a feature as opposed to a product. Everything. It's just a question of how, where, and when it's implemented. And so going back to your original question on what they asked me on the show, what I would do coming out of college, I would go to small, medium-sized businesses, having learned how to do agents, cloud bots, right? Anything and everything, and say to them, there have got to be 100 things that you do in this tiny business that you don't have the time to check the details on. And you don't know if it's worth hiring somebody to do it. I'll charge you $100 an hour. And if it doesn't work, you don't pay. but I'll save you time and money. And you'll find out if those vendors are ripping you off and undercharging you or underpaying you by $7 an invoice and you didn't even know it. Or, Sally who left, 2 years ago told you about it, but you haven't got time. So what you're able to do, because, hey, if you're just graduating from college, you've already used AI to cheat for multiple years, right?
Yeah.
You're paying attention to agents. You're seeing what agents are, and particularly if you're in computer science, but you're also facing a job market where it's basically 10% unemployment, and computer science isn't the end-all be-all that it used to be. But you learned Python, you learned NumPy, you learned how to do all these things. And so for you to walk into a business and just say, show me all the things that are a hassle that you can't get to, and I'm going to see if we can automate them with agents. And then I'll charge you $25, $50 a month to manage it or come in, because there's drift, right? If Claude changes something, or
you want to get Gemini in there. Yeah.
Right. Or if they change something in their models, change their ways, and all of a sudden what your agent used to do every day, like clockwork, doesn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Someone needs to monitor that. So I'll do that for you for $25 a month.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the perfect example. So one of my Shark Tank companies is a company called Rebel Cheese.
And oh my God, I love Rebel Cheese.
I'm saying.
Is this the vegan cheese?
Yes.
Wait, Mark, I'm obsessed with Rebel Cheese.
I knew
I had it like a couple years ago at my sister's engagement party, and it was the only vegan cheese I've ever liked in my whole life. Yes, because they're all vegans.
So good.
I'm in a family of vegans. It's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
So
Shout out Rebel Cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebelcheese.com.
Yep. Go buy.
So Kirsten, one of the founders,
Yeah.
they ship a lot to customers. And when you ship using UPS, DHL, whatever it may be, it's always based off the package size and your source zone where you're shipping from, and what your destination is. And then there's a price list effectively that when you put all this stuff into the system, it's supposed to charge you the function of those inputs.
Yeah.
But they don't. Right? They underpay all the time, or overcharge all the time. And so what Kirsten did was she put together an agent that took a picture of the price list, kept that up to date, took a picture of the invoice, used CV on all this stuff, and then compared what it should be to what they were actually getting charged, and then created a credit to get the delta. And she's making tens of thousands of dollars back from these shippers. Every company has got something similar. Maybe
it's
not
the details that they're not looking closely
at. Because, in your business, right, and all the investments that you make, you get home at night and you're like, I should be looking at this.
Yeah.
Always.
There's all the little numbers and all the data room, the deck. Yeah, of course.
And so like when you did the research on me, right, and you put it in the cloud and you're like, hey, what's my
followers?
Right, all that stuff, right? Yeah. And it's not always right, obviously, but at the same time, those are the opportunities, because a small business, and there's millions, particularly solo entrepreneurs, that they just might have their own Etsy business or whatever, and they might do, $8,000 a month in revenue. But if you can help them, they're your neighbor, and you learn how to do these things, you can make thousands of dollars, a week putting this stuff together, because you can jump. One day you work on this Etsy account, the next day you work on this, shoe store, the next day, but you're learning all this shit in the meantime, and you're getting smarter and you're keeping up with it. And then the next thing you know, oh my God, I got this idea that can apply to all these companies that I've done. And it's going to be different then than it is, or it was, because to your point about entrepreneurs trying to raise money and then scale, what are you selling to scale?
Mm-hmm. I know.
Right?
It's so custom.
Yes. And so when you look at the foundational models, or you look at the verticalized models like Open Evidence, that's mass consumer, but it's not a product per se, and going back in the day, like there used to be a bunch of web browsers. There used to be a bunch of search engines.
Yeah, we forget that there was one winner.
Yes.
I know. It's so interesting.
It makes, what I think is fascinating right now is you've got all these foundational models, the Groks, the Geminis, the Claudes, etc. And we don't know, is it going to be like search engines?
Yeah, where Google wins.
Where Google wins? Or is it going to be like streaming, where there's one big one or two big ones, Netflix and YouTube, and a couple people trying to, glom onto content to get subscribers? You don't know. So all those companies have got to play it as if it's the search engine market and it's winner take all. So you see them spending tons of money that they don't even have. These big companies don't even have. And so there's going to be so much impact, because those models have to keep on progressing forward and moving forward faster and faster and more capable. And in weeks now. I mean, back in the .com era, it would take at least a month or two for something to change. Now it seems like minutes. Everything is changing and it's hard to keep up. But that changes how business happens. That changes how policy happens. When was the last time you saw AI as a service talked about by anybody in politics?
It's so sad. That's what breaks my heart, because you never. It feels like we live in two different universes.
But that's the opportunity.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
And I feel like you kind of straddle that a little bit, because you're not afraid to talk to Lena Khan or talk about Lena Khan. And they're like, so few people are scared of that. I love your comment about the search wars and the AI wars. What I will say is I think one thing that we don't talk about enough is how well capitalized all the players are now. Like back in the day, and you know the numbers better than I, but I look at like OpenAI and Anthropic raising these crazy rounds. I look at Gemini with Google behind them, the behemoth. Like, there's something to be said.
And then you got Apple, who's not spending anything.
Apple, who's just sitting there.
Yeah,
they're like
which I think is smart, right? And they now have the biggest market cap of all of them.
We'll see. Yeah. I mean, they have. It's like they have such a head start with the phone. You know what I mean? I'm like, you have the hardware in the pocket of every person.
The path of least resistance to give people.
Least resistance. I have a lot of thoughts on Apple, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, very interesting.
Mark, I don't want to take up too much more of your time.
That's okay. This is fun. I'll keep on going.
This is fun. Okay, the last thing I wanted to say on this, and then we'll get to the lightning round, is I think not enough people are talking about how, yes, I agree with you on this consulting piece, but actually it's pretty expensive to run these agents. So I saw you tweeted this like in the past couple weeks, how, and I think it was the All In Guys maybe who posted about this.
Yeah, Jason.
Where it's like, maybe Jason. It was like, they're actually they're telling their developers to spend like, whatever they want on agents, and it's actually adding up to like $300 a day.
Yeah, more than you could hire somebody for.
Which is $100,000 a year salary. And so there's actually this really crazy question now of like, are humans running the world? Are AI and humans running the world? Or is AI running the world? And I actually think like, I have a lot of people I work with overseas who are like, couldn't be more brilliant, and I pay a quarter of what I would pay if they lived in America. There's so many times I do the math, and I'm like, I could build a custom agent for myself. I could use all the tokens I want. It's almost always more expensive than hiring someone really smart that I train overseas.
Except for your time.
Except for my time, but I've outsourced. I'm like the queen of outsourcing.
Yeah. I try to do it all myself as much as I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some stuff I want to play with and tinker.
No, I get it, right, so you learn. But you're probably smarter than I am about it. You're probably more efficient at it.
I try to be because there's a lot to do. So like, what's your take on the future of labor? Like, there's this human and AI.
Labor's not going away. It'll just be different.
Okay.
Right? There's, what's Javon's law, whatever.
Yeah. Javon's paradox.
Whatever it is, where the cheaper something is, the more you use of it and the more opportunities. Like, when there were horse and buggies and the cars started to come along and people were upset, no one ever envisioned gas stations.
Mm-hmm. It's so far beyond what could be. Yeah.
Right. So there's going to be all kinds of stuff. And, and even large language models now may be I don't know what a great analogy is. The old school may die out,
Who knows what's next? Yeah.
Because, I'm making investments now in worldview because if you think about large language models, they don't know when they're wrong, right? They can't tell you the consequences of their actions.
Zero context.
And so a little baby, a 2-year-old baby on a high chair with a sippy cup knows that if they push it off the edge of the high chair, mom's going to come running.
And then they learn, not going to do that again.
Right, or they learn to laugh and giggle.
Yeah. Or they don't learn for a bit.
Right. But they still might do it anyways, right? But they know the consequences.
Yeah.
And you can pre-code, you can train it to say, well, if the kid pushes, but you don't know if mom's been working, you don't know if mom's mad, you can't see mom and what she looks. That little baby can. I've got a mini Australian Shepherd Tucks. Those are smart-ass dogs, right? I trust my mini Australian Shepherd to, if I was blind, to get me across the street at a 4 residential intersection than I would AI to get me across the street with a camera. And so the point being that yes, humans are going to be needed. AI is going to change again. We're going to get into a worldview where you can get the law of physics and context, but there's always going to be latency, like we talked about before. There's always going to be a challenge of what's next and what do you train on? And then there's going to be bigger challenges about what's excluded. You're trying to take videos for your worldview because you want to know this intersection and be able to train on it or whatever it may be. No, that's my property. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And so
but it's so nuanced. It's like the field of like ethics to me. Like so much of the stuff, it's like there is no answer. It is not black and white, and we have to have these discussions.
And it never is. Yeah, it never is.
It never is.
No, but you're right. I mean, there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid that within 2 years everybody's going to lose their job. No. right? Because if that starts to happen, people are going to like, I ain't fucking working with you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We'll go someplace where, we'll create, in Atlas Shrugged, what was the place? In the valley. Anyways, where they're going to say, no, we're going to before it was like the government telling them what to do in Iran, right? So we're going to revolt, and it's going to be the same thing. We're not going to let AI tell us to do. We'll create this community, and you're not welcome. If we need to, use candles, we'll use candles, whatever it'll be. But, it's not going to be what people think it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone needs to take a big sigh of relief and view it with curiosity, kind of to bring it full circle.
It's all going to change.
Yeah.
And if you're an entrepreneur, you may be able to change it. Like when I talk to kids, I always give the same speech, right? I always say, look around, see that light, see that monitor, see that chair. One day it didn't exist. Mm-hmm. Then somebody had the idea to create that chair or that monitor, and then they turned into a business. And here you are. You have no idea who that person is. But why can't that be you?
I love it. Everything around you is man-made. It's very empowering.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so I would tell them, whenever you're thinking of an idea or you're thinking about a goal, just ask yourself, why not me?
Yeah, but the fear, I think, with software, and I hear this a lot from my non-technical friends, is you can't see it, you can't believe it, you can't understand the intelligence capabilities. And so there's a big fear component to like, I can see this chair and I can see this.
But that goes back to populism you were talking about, right? Because who do you trust?
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Do you trust the person who says, I'm going to make it so that people that you don't like or that you fear have taken things from you, I'm going to go after them? Mm-hmm. Or do you trust the person that says, I'm going to enable you and make your life better? Mm-hmm.
It's who owns the means of production, that's where populism comes from. We forget it's the government or the people. It's your neighbors or it's the government.
And there's place for government. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like so hardcore libertarian.
Yeah.
I want the government managing, the flights and the roads and all that stuff.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that being privately managed sounds like a nightmare.
So here's a problem I hear constantly from operators. The data exists, the answers are somewhere in there, but getting to them, actually pulling a useful insight without bugging the data team or learning SQL takes way too long or just does not happen. Hex solves that. Hex is an AI analytics platform where anyone on your team can ask data questions in plain English and get real answers, backed by your actual business context. No SQL required. And the best part is that Hex shows you exactly how its data agents think, so you can see where the logic comes from and trust the output. The more your team uses it, the smarter it gets. From seed stage founders running lean to larger orgs dealing with serious data complexity, Hex is built to scale with you. It's game-changing for people like me who want to understand what's going on under the hood, but we are not the data experts. It's funny too, because I feel like every time I look over my operator friends' shoulders, whether they're in product or marketing or ops, they often have a Hex dashboard pulled up. It's a great tool. Trailblazers listeners get an exclusive 30-day free trial at hex.ai/trailblazers.
Okay, we're going to do quick lightning round.
Sure.
Okay? Give me the first thing that comes to mind. Book in hand or podcast in ears?
Book.
Oh, any favorite books lately?
No, because I just read about healthcare these days.
Okay.
Because, and I'll tell you what, because podcasts, you get wrapped up and you can't stop, right? You can put a book down. I can't put a podcast down.
Yeah. Especially good ones.
Yeah.
Especially this one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trailblazers for the win.
Exactly. Morning person or night owl?
Both.
Okay, so that means just no sleep?
Actually, I just changed my sleep pattern because I needed more. But yeah, I didn't sleep a lot.
What's a lot? What's your average?
I mean, it used to be 4 to 5 hours. Now I'm back to 6.5 to 7.5.
Yeah.
Because I just decided like my workout sucked and I needed to get more energy.
ChatGPT can tell you sleep more.
Right.
Be better.
Yeah, right.
It's your health coach now. Cooking dinner or ordering in?
Ordering in.
Okay. Do you have a favorite spot or favorite cuisine?
Yeah, I mean, I always, there's a place called Asian Mint in Dallas, and I always order their teriyaki sea bass when they have it, or salmon or scallops.
Whoa.
But I'm a
seafood guy.
Yeah, I'm a sea bass freak. Yeah.
Okay. Teriyaki seafood is interesting. I don't have that often. Really?
Oh my God. Like literally I was just in DC and there was this place that had sea bass with little teriyaki spices on it on a skewer.
Oh.
And I ordered it. I was there for 2 days. I ordered it for 5 meals. It was so good after I tried it the first time.
You're a man who knows what he likes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Once I like it. Once I find something.
I love it. VC or bootstrapping?
Bootstrapping.
Yeah, I feel like you're the king of bootstrapping.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
No question. Networking dinner or big conference?
Big conference. Yeah, just because you can at least have some fun there. There's more stuff going on. And if you're stuck in a networking dinner or whatever, everybody's there to network. And that's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and you might be seated next to someone. You're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done.
I want to move around.
Exactly.
Hire slow or fire fast?
Hire slow and fire fast.
If you have to pick.
Hire slow.
Okay. And why hire slow?
Because firing is painful. I'd rather take as much time as I need to get it right. And I'm not very good at hiring. So, but yeah, I'd rather take my time, because once you get them, it's almost like you screwed up if you have to fire them.
Yeah. I'm sensing in the very beginning, we talked about you getting kinder as you got older. This hire slow answer is showing me that you are really living that. That's the kinder answer, you know?
Okay.
Struggling to fire. I'm celebrating you that you've
I appreciate
improved.
that. Thank you.
Yeah. 10 small wins or one big moonshot?
Moonshot.
Okay. Being early or being right?
Being right.
Okay. Why?
Because you're right. Being early gives you a chance to be right
Yeah.
on where others can't be, right? And I think that's a positive. So, oops, sorry. But being early is always paid off for me, because you just got to figure out how to hold on to your right. But I'd rather be right at some level.
Yeah. Never post on social media again to your 20 million followers, which we've clarified. Or, I mean, this is an easy one for you, but never fundraise another dollar again.
Never fundraise another dollar.
Even if money to have like FU money, you can do whatever you want now. Yeah, it's very freeing.
Yeah.
Very freeing. Okay, last question. Is AI overhyped or underhyped?
Underhyped.
Okay, give me your pitch. Why is it underhyped?
This is still the first inning of the first preseason game. We have no idea where it's going to go, but it'll open doors that we can't even envision right now. It is a great democratizer of education and information. Any kid that has access to a smartphone, that can go to a web page, can get access to the greatest minds ever and ask them anything and follow whatever that interest is. And to me, you could be in the poorest, worst environment with the worst teachers at the worst schools, but if you're willing to just, hey, ChatGPT, teach me how to do da-da-da-da-da, and put together a study program that responds to the answers I got right and wrong, what can't you learn?
Absolutely. It's like back to that quote you were saying earlier, right? Like if you want to use the AI models to learn everything versus learn nothing, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah. Mark, thanks for being here.
This is fun. I really appreciate it.
This was fun.
Yeah, I really
You crushed
enjoyed
it. Thanks.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for listening to the Trailblazers podcast. If you found this conversation valuable, please follow along on socials, share with a friend, leave a review, all the things. Most of all, please subscribe to our channel. It helps more contrarian builders find us and supports the work we're doing here. To learn more about what we're doing, you can visit trailblazerspod.com or my venture capital firm, parkrangerscap.com, or just follow along on socials at Erica_Wenger. Until next time, keep trailblazing.